Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving to our interesting panel discussion on unlocking new export market opportunities. Well, as a moderator, we have Mr. Sudhir Narayan, the partner Bain and Company. Please do join us on the stage. Let's hear it for Mr. Sudhir Narayan. Is a partner in the Bain Mumbai office. Is a leader in the global technology practice, specializing in semiconductor and electronics engineering and R&D, advanced manufacturing, and private equity. Sudhir holds a postgraduate degree in management from the IIM and IIT Madras. Ladies and gentlemen, we have on the panelist Mr. Varun Manwani, the MD, Sahasra Semiconductors Private Limited. Let's hear it for him with a huge round of applause. Mr. Varun Manwani is a second-generation entrepreneur and director at Sahasra Group, an economics graduate from the University of Delhi. He is recognized for strategic risk-taking and business turnarounds, including the successful revival and scaling of InfoPower, followed by a joint venture with Taiwanese technology major MyTech. And ladies and gentlemen, we also have Mr. Bhaskaran Ravi, India Country Management and Senior Director Operations, AT&S India. Please do join us, sir, on the stage. He brings more than 15 years of experience in the semiconductor industry, having held key roles previously at Micron Technologies and SanDisk Corporation. He's passionate about fostering innovation and driving operational excellence, and passionate about scaling advanced manufacturing in India. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Mr. M.H. Johar, the President, CP Plus Aditya Group, and also Executive Committee member of LCNA. Give a huge round of applause as he joins us on the stage. As President, Mr. M.H. Johar is leading all the government surveillance and electronic security projects conducted by CP Plus. Industry veteran, M.A. Johar, an electronics and telecommunications engineer, as well as a law graduate, leads strategic business at CP Plus, leveraging 30 plus years of experience. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a huge round of applause for a moderator, for the panelist right there on the stage.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Tina, we'll have the pages come up. So it's been a superb morning session, right from the beginning, with all the esteemed LCNA office bearers and the minister setting the tone. We are going to talk about a very critical topic, which is exports, unlocking new export markets in electronics. I'm going to take just a few minutes to share some data points. Some of this would be repeating from the morning sessions, but it'll set some context for our conversation overall. India's electronics journey has been super impressive. On this chart, if you can see from 2014 to 2024, from a $30 billion production base, India is almost at close to $140 billion production base, which is a combination of both strong investments from the industry players, be it Foxconn, Samsung, Apple, Tata's, the esteemed companies, they are here, and also the government policies, right from MEIS to PMP to PLI to ISM, the state government incentives, which EMC, cluster incentives, specs, and so on and so forth. This, even though we are all feeling good and energetic about it, India consumes about 4 to 5% of global electronics, but we are hardly 1% of global trade when it comes to exports. I just want to maybe show that we export close to about $40 billion. Countries, forget China, which exports about $1 trillion of, which is almost 50 times our export value, or not even 50, more than that. The countries which are 1/5 or 1/6 our size, Malaysia and Vietnam, they export more than $200 billion, right? So that's just shows how much scale is possible given who we are as India as one large country or market and capability base, right? So just to put things in perspective, I think we have come a long way from, in terms of overall production, 4 times increase to 140 billion, and many times the 500 billion aspiration has been repeated, which is very much reachable. A large part of that will come from exports. We are at 40 billion of exports. For that 500 billion to happen, we need to have around 200 to 250 billion of exports. And the reason why I say that is, okay, the last one is, it's very right location that we are doing this conference in Tamil Nadu, which the 3 states which contribute to 75% of exports, which is phenomenal to see. The point I was making on why exports is critical, even though India market is large, if you look at India market consumption on FY30, we will get to about $400 billion. And not all equipment is possible to be supplied from production. So there will be some portion of 20-25% of that $400 billion, which will still be imported from global production facilities. So India market by itself can only absorb $300 billion of electronics. For us to get to $500 billion aspiration, export needs to kick into the scale of $200-250 billion for us to get to that aspiration. And more so, it requires that amount of scale to be truly competitive with other ecosystems like Vietnam, Malaysia, China, and Europe, Japan, and so on. A lot of this is helpful from few structural factors, right? All of us have been talking about global supply chain realigning. China +1, no China, no Taiwan is a theme for not just geopolitical reasons, but business resiliency reasons. All the global brands are prioritizing that. Government policies, you are seeing continued support from the central government and the state government. You had Mr. Darees Ahmed and Mr. Raja making a strong and perfect pitch for how industry should look at Tamil Nadu as for investment. There is also, if you look at consecutive budgets, the focus on hard infrastructure capex, which is going in terms of roads, ports, all the hard infrastructure which is required for industrial activity to scale is also consistently increasing. And this definitely helps. And lastly, at an industry level, we are also moving towards more complex products and higher value addition, which makes it more legit for us to look at global markets at scale and look at that, right? And just wanted to show a couple of interesting charts. So this chart talks about the entire semiconductor value chain, and the reds and blues show the reds are China and Taiwan, and the blues are rest of the world, US, Japan. You'll see from left to right, from input materials to design to manufacturing, the kind of concentration on manufacturing that global economy is concentrated from a couple of production bases. And that's what's driving the supply chain resilience. And it's not just a headline, it's also happening in reality. If you look at US imports, share of China has dropped from 42% to 27%. But also the grounding it, the winners here are Vietnam and Taiwan. If you look at India, we have grown from 0.4% share of US imports to 2.6%. So there is a huge headroom for us targeting a large market like US. I'm taking US as an example here. It could equally apply for Japan or any other major market that we are looking at. And all of this has resulted in benefits for every single company operating out here. And this is just a selection of a few EMS, ESDM companies. If you see from 2015 to 2019 to 2024 to 2022 to 24, all companies' growth rates have increased significantly, either moderately or significantly. So all of this is resulting in better business performance for folks. And we as Bain, we are a global management consulting firm. We work with companies across different verticals. And it's a constant theme that we see from companies above of a $10 billion turnover or less than $5 billion turnover across verticals. Everyone is looking at India as a key sourcing factor. And we need to think big, think strategic, think competitive, and cover all these potential customers. 1 or 2 customers is you're just scratching the surface. And with that as context, I'm very passionate about this whole ecosystem and industry, so just wanted to share some thoughts on why I truly believe about export potential. With that, I wanted to leave with a framing for our conversation, and then I will hand over to Varun to just share a little bit about his business and his vision for exports, electronics exports from India.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sudhir. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm glad we're all awake after lunch. Okay, so my name is Varun Manwani. I am the managing director at Sahasra Semiconductors, which is a part of the Sahasra Group. At Sahasra, we've been part of the electronics and ESDM ecosystem for the last 35 years. We started our journey with the PCB fabrication facility, and we continue to fabricate PCBs. And as a applicant in the ECMS scheme, we are also getting into expansion of our PCB fabrication plant. So starting from the PCBs in the 90s, we moved on to the EMS industry in the year 2000. And so over the last 25 years, we've also been a part of the EMS industry. And then in the year 2020, we took a dive into the semiconductor industry, and we came up with our OSAT / ATMP facility. So we're now in semiconductor packaging as well. Over the last 35 years, we've heavily focused our business on exports. At a time when India was not really known for hardware exports. India was really known for software and ITS services. But we were able to look at exports right in the late 90s and continuing until now. And I guess they invited me to this particular panel discussion for our export potential. So that's been our journey, and we are very much a player in this electronics ecosystem, which is expanding in India. But as you can see, the only part I saw, Sudhir, in your charts was not the depressing figure of export from India, but the potential of export from India. So if you're at 1%, we have 99% to go through, right? Rather than look at the pessimistic side of it. And I'll talk about it subsequently. Thank you.
Thanks, Varun. Georgie, your...
Hi, good afternoon. I'm happy to see that nobody is sleeping. So the thing is going good. I represent CP Plus, you must have heard about. We proudly say that we are the one who has made people aware about the necessity of CCTV cameras to safe and secure their life. You must have seen Bigg Boss starting, where the Bigg Boss was that camera only. And that camera now is part of every household. So that says big Upar wala sab dekh raha hai, like a Bigg Boss. With that, when we started, it was kind of a luxury, and now we have reached to a stage that we are the largest manufacturer of CCTV systems in India. We have recently built up, the earlier factory was making 12 million cameras a month. Now we have increased the capacity to about 2 million per month, but still, believe me, we are not able to fulfill the Indian requirement. So it means that we are selling about 2 million cameras in a month in India, and that is how the market is going on in India and worldwide. To look at that export capabilities, we have already planned this capability expansion was planned for May or June this year, but we have preponed it and did it in October, November only. And in now May or June, we have again planned for that, making it from 2 million to 3 to 3.5 million cameras in a month. Looking at the Indian market, which is growing day by day, looking at the kind of geopolitical situations going on, the world is looking at India for the camera import. And that is where we are taking that opportunity. Thanks to Indian government, for the government policies they have come out, like STQC testing, like other security features into the cameras, what they have specifically asked to put in, that basically develop a kind of a sense of security into the world market. And now they have started looking at India. So I proudly say that in the surveillance market, we left behind Vietnam and Taiwan, and being a kind of preferred product nation for surveillance market. I think I'll take it further.
Okay, my turn. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bhaskaran. I actually represent ATNS India. ATNS is Austrian-based PCB and substrate manufacturing firm. We have a huge presence in India. We have a plant in Mysore, which has been in existence for 25 plus years, with over 1,000 employees in terms of strength. And we also have big presence in China, back in Austria, and also in Malaysia. So ATNS, apart from what they had in the group, which is in Austria, 25 years ago they acquired a facility in Mysore, and we've been in existence for that long. And if you see, traditionally that plant was only exporting. 100% of what was being done was just for exports. Basically the diversification happened way back then, and this was the first plant that was acquired. And as you see now, we are actually we have grown maybe grown by 50% in the last decade. But if you see, most of the export is now slowly reducing, and we are actually now domestically serving in the local market. Now, again, significantly, if you see, the volume has not grown, but it is slightly tapering down when it comes to export. And the reason for that, let me tell you, we are in a very challenging market where I think that the last couple of decades were dominated by sea, which is China, Vietnam, and now Thailand is upcoming. So it was very, very difficult for us to meet the economics of scale and also the cost. So gradually, this was very interesting data that Sudhir has shared. Now, just to build upon a little bit, we have very similar dynamics like what Varun shared from Sahasra. We were very much an export-oriented unit, but now we are tapping into the local market. And reason for that is we want to go into more advanced PCB fabrication. And that is where you have an opportunity to compete with the global giants like China and Vietnam and Koreans. On the other side, we also need the economics of scale, because if you see, the depth in the ecosystem is not there. We still import almost 90% of the materials is imported, and which is where it is very painful to achieve that costing. So as we now see a lot of progress in the dynamics with very, very good policy support, we are on the right track. And with ECMS, I think amazing policies lined up one after the other, starting from PLI, specs, ISM 1.0, now ISM 2.0, and with ECMS, success story one after the other. Now, how I see we will have to grow together in the ecosystem is, tap the local domestic market, and we have some areas to work on, which we will continue to discuss as a panel when it comes to, developing the skill sets locally, going into industry and academia partnership. How do you get your component material vendors, your equipment field service engineers to support you locally? So with that, we will probably learn how to do business more in India, and then I think export is just going to be a big opportunity moving forward. So looking forward to discuss more in depth on how we win and where are the areas we need to be focused on. So yeah, thank you. Back to you, Steve.
Thanks, Bhaskaran. Very interesting perspectives from the three panelists. Very distinct businesses. Sahasra, second generation entrepreneur, getting into the forefront of semiconductor manufacturing. a product company which is growing really fast and looking to establish a global brand, product brand out of India in a particular sector leadership, and a global company which is looked at India as a production base, trying to build the ecosystem and make both production for the world and for India for the higher end of the component space. So very, very distinct views. Now, if I may ask Varun, I laid out a number on $200 billion of exports. I want to know, how would you define the right export vision for India? Which products do you see opportunity? Which parts of the value chain do you see opportunity? And if you were to lay out a roadmap, where would you start today and where do you want us to, in a practical sense, we get in a 5-year time frame? What's the vision for, according to you?
Right. So, look, I think it's but obvious that we cannot only have India for India. Today, I know a lot of companies, let's say some of our customers who are in the US, over time they built plants in China, and with the US-China trade war and other issues that are happening, they've said that, okay, let China be for China and let other suppliers across the world support the US and other markets. So China for China makes sense because China is extremely well developed today. The entire ecosystem is very, very well developed, and the market is large enough that they can serve their own market. But for all other nations that you put on that chart, see, if you look at all those nations, they're all island nations. You look at Vietnam, you look at Taiwan, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, they're all island nations. So it was probably more by, rather less by design than by default, because they had no option than to export but to serve their own domestic market, because the domestic market did not exist. So in fact, companies in India have a beautiful opportunity. It's domestic market together with the export market. So our numbers and scale can be a lot more larger. Now, what could form part of export? I think from needles to equipment, right? Everything today is a possibility. Everything was being sourced out of China by China. And so, all of that can be sourced out of here. In our industry, in the PCB fabrication EMS, at least, Semicon is just about starting. We have seen over the last 25 years that now some of the equipment suppliers or even distribution companies who were just distributing equipment for multinationals have started to look at the low-end, low-hanging fruits and have started to manufacture those machines here in India. So that's how you start. Now, once you start to do that and you develop a base, because India offers that opportunity, now next you start saying that, okay, I can export this because there are global issues. And so everybody wants to look at alternatives. So if I just talk about our own industry and the references that you gave, China Plus One and NCNT. So we are definitely taking advantage of that. And there are, we have customers in Germany, in the US, who because of the China Plus One or even the NCNT policy, and in our memory semiconductor domain, it's primarily dominated by Taiwan, China, Korea. And the packaging plants are primarily in Taiwan and Malaysia, etc. And most of these, Vietnam and all these other countries, I personally feel these are proxy to China, right? So going to these places are probably short-term bets, but they know from a longer-term stabilized perspective, India makes a lot of sense. Now, as we heard in the earlier panel, or in the first panel today, not only government of Tamil Nadu, but government of India has really set the ball in motion with all these FTAs that we've signed. And now that India is at 18% vis-a-vis all its peer countries who are 19% and above. So that puts us in a very, very strong position from a tariff standpoint, especially with the US, with UK, with European Union, etc. that we established. So we have not only due to efforts that we've put in, but due to the global situation and due to the efforts of the government, we have customers coming to us from Europe, Japan, South America, the US, asking for memory. Because as I said, one, it was only China, Taiwan. Number two, NCNT, so there was no choice. But today there's a choice. And so if there is a choice and you are present at that point of time, that's what works. So, and over time, we have built our strategy around that. We know consumption of memory in India is based on lowest cost, right? So we decided consciously to target the higher value add markets. And so our customers in Europe and US is by design. We work towards it. We have got expensive compliances in place. We've become members of the SD Association. We took the SD3C LLC license when we are the only company out of India who has that license. There are some 20 companies in the world. You'll see names, out of 20, maybe 10 are Chinese, 3, 4 are, or maybe 5 are Taiwanese, 2, 3 are American. And those American companies have the license, but they are buying from China. So we're the only ones from India with the license manufacturing it. Yes, we've not yet gone to the scale, but as we start to look at the global demand and India, the scale will follow by itself. So I would see tremendous amount of opportunity, right? Whether you look at a complete product, you look at the sub-assemblies or sub-products, you look at all sorts of merchandise, even if it is capital equipment. I think everywhere an opportunity lies, you have to have the right vision, mission, and execution for it, and have patience capital. Export market development is not an overnight journey. It will take a few, years to develop that market for yourself.
Yeah. I think you just raised the bar in terms of what the possibilities are. I was tentative to say whether I overstated the $200 to $50 billion aspiration. Absolutely, and you are. It just occurred to me that Sahasrara is in an amazing sweet spot in terms of being in the memory product zone at this point. I think that's the beauty of the electronics industry overall, that it is at the center of digitization and forefront of technology innovation. So any new next generation technology will have its skeleton built out of a range of electronics products, right?
Yeah, 35% of worldwide semiconductor market is memory. So
and with
we
AI,
play a little portion in it for sure.
Yeah, and with the AI super cycle,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is hugely.
Again, on this AI super cycle, it's the memory market has, got disrupted hugely.
Yeah.
But every disruption brings opportunity. So we are only looking at the opportunity out of it. And probably this is the best time for us to be able to set up. When the status quo is there, you cannot really set up and distinguish yourself from others. But at this point of time, there are people who are looking at us because they need material.
Yeah.
And if you have something, you can definitely sell.
Yeah.
So it's not as easy probably as it sounds, but you have to try and ensure that you are playing in the right field. And the level playing field, I think, has been set. Kudos to our government for negotiating a tremendous trade deal, bilateral trade agreement with the US. That again puts India on the map and brings in a lot of opportunity.
100%. I think just the fact that you have a position, you have a seat at the table. So really awesome about that. Georgie, I want to hear. You selected one product, right? What's your view on product-oriented export? How do you think about it? And specifically, which markets do you think are the right ones to target from a product point of view, right?
See, as far as products are concerned, the world market, due to the current geopolitical situation, the world market is looking for a trusted supply chain. That is the major part. The second thing is that they want a competitive price, and they want a secure and competitive product, and not only the product. If it is a complete solution, as far as our industry is concerned, if it is a complete solution coming in or not. So these are the opportunities which the world is looking at. And now see our scenario as India. We are the most trusted supplier because, as Varun also said, that everybody, they consider it as a proxy, not only us, but they don't look at India as a proxy for China. And they just want to get out of that. That is what is the major opportunity for India to harper on. The second is that India is a known software developer. Now, the kind of product you are giving, it is coming packaged with the software. That gives them a deal because they can make good hardwares. But again, for software, they have engineers from India only.
Yeah.
And if an Indian supplier is giving complete solution, hardware plus software, then it becomes cheaper for them. It becomes cheaper if they compare to the world market also. And if they compare to the western part of India, if I talk about western part of India, then it becomes more appropriate for them to buy a complete solution because one-stop solution for them. So that is where the key opportunities lies for us, and we are harping upon them. The major market, if you see, Middle East is already covered onto that. There are a lot of smart city developments. There are a lot of smart analytical developments which are going on to this. Even in India, there are a lot of analytical development because the objective of surveillance industry itself is a change. Earlier it was just the monitoring, then it moved on to the detection, and then from detection to recognition. And now it is reaches to a stage that everybody want analysis out of that camera, where the artificial intelligence works onto this, and that is where the Indian companies, not only us, I would praise that all Indian companies are putting lot of focus onto the R&D. We ourselves have almost 500 plus R&D engineers now working onto the artificial intelligence, developing software and giving a complete solution to the customer that okay, with these AIs you will get the cameras, whether it is on edge or on a box and all. So these are the things which basically required by the world, and we are ready to serve. So that is what the gap we are bridging, and definitely because of these government policy, they are confident of that if it is in India, it is secure. So that is where I want to say.
I think you brought in a new but very important dimension of trust quality, but also solution and software, which is a strength of India, not just domestic market, but we are also the largest talent base or for software development and services to build the overall solution itself.
So we are combining those services with the product line now.
Yeah. Bhaskaran, what's your vision for exports out of India? I know you come from a different vantage point, but if you take off the ATNS hat for 5 minutes, and wear the industry leader hat, what do you think is the vision for India? And do you have any view on products, markets, any insights there?
Thank you, Sudhir. I think the statistics that you shared earlier will really help. We are currently at about 35 to 40 billion when it comes to electronics. 50% is dominated by mobile. That's a story to tell. And when you look at other sectors, we are also doing very well. When it comes to pharmacy, we are probably 20% of global exports is dominated by India. When it comes to services, we just spoke about IT services, 200 billion, 10 times more is what we are contributing. So it's not like this is something new, but we have the know-how. We have that system around us that is definitely well-oiled engine that's moving in the right direction. But looking at electronics, it is a very niche market. It is not easy to do business here. You know, if you have to work with a customer, you know, it's very painful. It is two-way communication. So it's not like I show you something, you like the product, you buy and leave. So the way we do business here is, you know, qualifying a customer, it takes us sometimes even a year of hard work, and it has to be two-way. The customer also has to work with the supplier hand in hand. So me right now, coming from PCB background, I just love the Source India logo, where you look at the India map there, it looks like the PCB traces. I don't see components there, so I look at it like a PCB, and the components are the pieces that we need to put together. So that's basically foundational. So PCB is used in almost every single electronic product, but I've been learning about the supply chain and ecosystem and looking at what we need to make a PCB, for example, a copper-clad laminate or a resin or a foil or a glass fabric which gets into it. When I visited some of our suppliers in China, I was very impressed. Some of these, the third or fourth, in the value chain that comes down, has a factory in the size of 4 football stadiums. And for that to come to India, we need to have that kind of a manufacturing growth and also the consumer ecosystem. Now, this is where I've worked in Malaysia for 10 years. I've been sometime in China and also in Singapore. So I can add maybe there is 4 key factors where I think we are doing very well, but I just want to touch upon this and what are the best practices that I've seen outside India. Country like Malaysia is probably 4 times bigger in electronic exports. Vietnam is probably next to China already. Is already about 200 billion electronic exports. And if you look at these small countries, they started off with heavy FDI investment and very good policies in terms of ease of doing business. Now, when the FDIs kick in, you have a global player who's actually looking at it as a manufacturing geography. And then automatically the other ecosystems come together. Now, the 4 things that I want to touch upon was, number 1 would be the logistics and infrastructure. When it comes to logistics, again, with all the other things I touched upon in terms of pharmacy and other service-based exports we do have a very good infrastructure, but we need to build upon it. Dedicated freight corridors. How do you reach out to the small SMEs and the road transportation, the railways, and then the freight. So we also need to have these big players like FedEx, UPS, and DHLs of the world to come and also land their cargo planes in many part of this ecosystem within the country. And if you look at infrastructure point of view, I come from also semiconductor background. One power trip can be so painful. We have to report it in our annual financial statement because the losses are very heavy. One small power trip can cost us millions of dollars. So constant power supply, water supply, resources, talent is also very, very critical. Now, we are moving leaps and bounds in these areas, but again, we really need to continue to do that to be more competitive, to get more advanced products into the country, attract FDIs. Then we have the local Indian-based manufacturers learn from there, and the ecosystem supports both. And if you see traditionally in the countries that I mentioned, there was not a lot of local consumption. Mostly what they were doing is for the export market. Now in India, we have the strength of local consumption and we have good policy support. And with this, now the China plus one strategy or Taiwan plus one strategy, now you have interest from a lot of people knocking the door. So it's all the stars are lining up very well. And I mean, the growth is inevitable. Now, the second part I want to touch upon was the policies have to be consistent. The industry, I said, is very difficult industry, very niche, very precise. For us to get matured here for semiconductors, it may take 10 to 15 years. It's not today, tomorrow. We may have to continue. Over the lunch conversation, we were just discussing what was discussed on the first Source India conference, and today where we are. And probably 10 years from now, we'll also be discussing where we grew and what more can we do next. So definitely there's a lot going on right now, and the policy has to sustain, and we have to continuously looking at different aspects, understand what challenges we have, and keep moving. The policy stability is key. The third one I wanted to touch upon was the ecosystem depth. So like I said, in China, four value chains below, we have a factory of as big as 4 football stadiums. And also it's a circular economy. I actually sell PCB to a company A. He builds equipment out of it and sells the equipment back to me. Similarly, this AI is also very much a circular economy, where chips are made by a company A, and chips are sold as GPUs, and GPUs are in turn used back in their data centers, and then that is again powering your chat GPTs and Perplexity and other apps. So it's a little bit of a circular economy, but that's exactly how the ecosystem gets drilled down to the last level. So that's one. And the last one is basically, this is my personal problem. So basically, I've been trying to hire people who are technically good in PCB, and it's been, the average duration it takes to hire someone in this industry is much, much longer than someone in service industry or IT or consulting or automotive or different other fields which we are really good at. So the very, very happy to see the progress, but we need to continue to dominate there. The last point I want to touch upon is, let's not forget, we don't need only engineers here. Unlike IT industry, you're going to see a building full of engineers from IITs and good colleges getting jobs. In this, we need technicians, we need skilled operators. And for that, like what Mr. Darej Ahmed this morning touched upon, ITIs. So some ITIs are really good when you walk in, some are really, really run down. So ITIs institutes have to improve, the diploma institutes have to improve, because we need all these people. We can't only run a plant with engineers, right? So with that, I just want to pass it back to you, Sudhir. Thank you.
Thanks, Bhaskar, and I think you gave me the perfect segue to maybe go to Varun and Georgie also. What I want to frame this as, both of you have run export businesses. What are things that you think need to get right from an export business? And if you can also say, what should industry people do in the next 3 months and 3 years, and what government should do in the next 3 months and 3 years? What's your advice to them?
So as I said at the start, that if you want to look at exports, there has to be a specific strategy in place, right? Because you're dealing with different cultures, you're dealing with different time zones, different people with different languages, etc. So you have to have clarity of thought. And so the very first thing needed is patience capital. You have to have the patience, not that you go and participate in an exhibition and you feel, I come back and I should get 10 inquiries and I should be able to start exports. It doesn't happen that way. You have to have a long-term plan for it. And so for that, as I said earlier, vision, mission, execution. So if you have a vision that, okay, this is what I would like to do, this is the market I want to, go into, this is my product that I would like to take to the market, either as a sub-assembly, complete product, sub-product, whatever it is. Study that market, do your market research, decide how do you want to approach the market via, having your own operation, own setup, having some distributors, partners, joint ventures, looking at the right pricing strategy for the market, having a clear service and warranty come RMA setup in place. These are the challenges. So, for example, I won't name the specific company from Taiwan, but there was a company from Taiwan in India who was in the memory business many years back. And they were supporting the Indian industry for about 10, 12 years, and they suddenly overnight disappeared. So all the distributors, dealers were, really upset that now what happens to the service, the warranty of the product. So likewise, you have to have a long-term strategy, as I said. So all these are the key factors which should be thought of while you go to the market, and start with low-hanging fruit, right? An immediate opportunity that you can do. Don't start thinking about, oh, I will do this and I will develop this and all that. That might be too far ahead. Start with whatever is the lowest hanging fruit that you can start. As Georgie mentioned, maybe there's a smart city project. You can partner with a local system integrator or something and quickly get started, right? So I think these are some of the key aspects that you need to look at. Another thing which, since Georgie had mentioned it, I want to talk about that is trusted supply chain. So that's also part of your strategy. For example, Sahasra is also in PCB fabrication. Now, we looked at an opportunity where there was this US entity who got orders from the defense, US defense. Now, there is clearly no China, no Taiwan, no Vietnam, because it's all proxy. So they were looking at Indian manufacturers, right? And it's defense, there is no choice. There was no tariff pressure because the US defense gets no tariff on their product. And so we were able to work with them. So as long as, however, the reason we were able to work with them is because we have experience in PCB exports. We have our offices there, so we had representation. So you have to have these, the right, boxes ticked to be able to get into the business. Now, what the government can do so far, whatever has been done is good in signing up FTAs, bilateral agreements. India's today a booming economy and all of that. I think what we really need to focus on is market the country of India as a base to export product. Like over the last 20, 25 years when we were exporting, the challenge for India was always that, so you really do hardware in India? It's software, it's R&D. So we had to go market the country first and market ourselves. But China gets marketed by itself because the entire nation is focusing on exports, right? So we need to focus on exports with policies which are a lot more export friendly. Number two, I think the logistical aspect is very, very important. Port development, the roadways, railways, whereby we can quickly be able to turn around our shipments, which is very, very critical. Quality of logistics, which is also very critical. So I would say these two areas are the key areas where the government should look at. And also establishing, like we're having such kind of exhibitions here, the government needs to take large delegations to these countries, have exhibitions there, that these are the companies available out of India, work with them. That's how exports will really get kicked off.
Thanks, Varun. Great points. Georgie?
I think Varun said everything, so I have to just summarize that. One is that, I'll summarize that. One is that mindset. The government has done their part. We have to change our mindset from import dependency to the export capability. That is what is required to get a change or required to be changed in the mindset of Indian industry. So that is one part. The second part is that, what he rightly said is that once we are done with that export capabilities, the world knows and world is looking at us. Now we have to give them, because we have to compete with the foreign giants, that visibility we have to increase. What he rightly said is that through conferences, through delegation and all. So we have to, it's a competition between Indian brand versus the giants. So you have to say them, or you have to tell them that yes, we have reached to that level. That is what is required. The third is, and the most important is that yes, we have challenges. We have at the moment import dependency majorly onto the component. I think that is where Alcina monogram goes on for the PCB only, and we will soon add components in it, I think, onto the monograms. So that is where we have to see the world market, and we have to, when we are getting into the world market, we have to go on with these kind of mindset and the working. The government is doing their part, that they are able to generate that feel into the world that yes, we can be one. And now it is our job.
Bhaskar, any closing thoughts from you on?
Sure, I think you're going to have a tough time to summarize because each one are just summarizing. Okay, so I think the competition is very stiff. We are late in the game, but it's still, the opportunity is humongous ahead of us. If you look at the policies are also inclined in bringing in more advanced technology into the country because you don't want to go back in date. So very smartly designed, and I think a lot of good inputs also has been given by the industry captains, bodies like Alcina's supporting that. So I think we have to go through this, but with a lot of discipline in place. Looking at what China has achieved, China has achieved scale. Taiwan has achieved technology, and countries like Vietnam, Malaysia have achieved efficiency. Now we have a very strong foundation here to do all of the above, right? We can achieve scale, technology, and also efficiency. because we do have that kind of a foundation set. Now, I think it's like Varun summarized, there's so much momentum going on. We have to also capitalize on this, and it's not going to be easy. And work in all fronts have to happen at equal pace with a lot of discipline and execution. Now, again, coming back, and I would still like to touch upon the logistics infrastructure, where getting the ports to expand, and also one point I want to touch upon, which I got a chance to work on, was the special economic zone, where we, when I was associated with Micron, we managed to make some amendments in the special economic zone law. This was a policy that was designed in 2005 in the spirit of ease of doing business. So a lot more special economic zone corridors with, also looking at how you can keep things within probably a reach of a couple of 100 kilometers around, right? So otherwise it's still going country to country. You still have overnight supply, and that can be a challenge, given that speed matters. Speed of execution really matters in this business. Not everything can be put together. When you have a phone in the hand, there's probably 100 over factories that have contributed to that phone, and not 101 things can be done in the same one plant. So we need to understand that there's a lot of logistics involved, a lot of transactions involved in making that device that gets into the consumer's hand finally. So I also touched upon the talent, and I also touched upon how you have to work together with the customer or supplier hand in hand. And it can be painful, it can be a very lengthy process. Patience is the key here. Second, you need to open up for more expatriates to come and work with us here. They could be a customer, they could be a supplier, but we need to understand each other. So we need to make things a little more easier for expatriates to come in. I was quoting yesterday when we were having a chat that some of my foreign colleagues even complained that they're not able to get a SIM card when they come and try to buy a SIM card as small as that in a roadside retail shop. So a lot of things we need to ease out. And again, I mean, we don't want to keep harping on the country. A country like China, where we don't even speak the language, they also are finding it very difficult to speak English. But the systems are much more easier for a lot of expatriates to move around. So that is one area that we can continue to focus on. So it's more of partnership, and 30-40 billion, the vision of going to 300 billion by end of 2030. I think we probably can do even better than that, given the speed at which we are moving. I mean, if we tackle all of these areas together, like I said, we will have all of the above in terms of momentum. When many people are trying to go outside China plus one, and we are trying to grow, the stars will line up. So that's an excellent opportunity, and we need to capitalize on that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Bhaskar. I think exciting times with just huge opportunity ahead, change in mindset, leveraging on the advantages, not just the market, but the entire solution orientedness, having thought clarity, working on all factors of how to reach out to the market, the softer elements of bringing in talent, building talent, working with cross cultures. A lot of great inputs from all the panelists out here. Thank you very much for taking time out today. With that, I think we are also, any audience questions, we are happy to take. Yes.
Good afternoon all. I'm Joshi from Accurex, capital equipment service provider. For the panel, since we are looking at exports, okay, my question is in terms of product, when you are trying to export, the quality, certifications, reliability, and trade compliances. So on all these 4 segments, where we stand India, and how global market sees India, and how do we improve so that we are able to say that made in India is for global market. So on these four segments, I would like the panel to give some insights.
Well, I'll go first. So I think it was spoken about in all the previous sessions to some extent that not enough testing and labs is available in India. And even we for ourselves, when we had to do, let's say, certain tests across the requirements as per the global norms, even the biggest of entities, without taking any names, they took the product from us, but they had to send it to their Taiwan, Singapore, or German headquarters to get the right test done. Now, when I'm saying logistics, I'm actually covering all these topics as well, because it took me 2.5 weeks to get that certification done, which maybe in Taiwan, we would have taken three days. So the testing time is maybe 2 days, but the travel time was 2 weeks, right? And so that's crucial time that you miss. And from an export standpoint, these are the very basic requirements that are needed. So when we started to look at export market for, let's say, the memory cards that we're doing, we had to first align all of these and then go and talk to somebody. So it's very, very crucial and critical to get these testing labs and certification facilities in India. And again, that's the ecosystem development that when we develop, parks. So not only focus on manufacturing, academic, industry, working together, but look at everything. Look at even housing, look at road infrastructure, look at connectivity, look at mobile phone connections and whatever is required. You need everything. So testing plays a very major role. I think in all the domains that we are in, whether it's PCBs or products or sub-products. And again, our product category is extremely critical because the data that the camera captures resides on the storage that we provide. And if the storage gets corrupted, there's a huge issue. So it's very, very critical, and India will be able to have the right image across the world if we have all of these systems set up, and then you can start to benchmark standards as well, which we tend to follow standards but not benchmark. So, or we rather benchmark it to the global standards. So the BIS, etc., that we have should be benchmarked to begin with to these standards, and probably even set standards as we start to develop and design solutions.
I think as far as product lines are concerned, and especially the surveillance market, the major STQC certification which the government lab gives is based on an international standard called OWASP 2.0. So you qualify for that security thing, and they have further added about 7-8 points which are onto the secure supply chain. So which got more secure. Now come on to FCC, UL and other NDA and all those certifications from the US. That is where I said that instead of mindset, that instead of that import dependency, you have to have export capabilities. Now those capabilities are that you have to be sure that you have to take certification if you are going to supply it to the foreign countries. You have to, because they would not buy any product which is not certified by their lab. So you have to go to that lab. But you have to make the product which is tested well in advance at your practice, whatever test facility is available, and then send it to their certification so that it is past 100%. So now, as far as our market is concerned, I can say that yes, we have got about 4 labs already made up, one at Noida, Ahmedabad, and even one R&D center we have opened up at Taiwan also. So the R&D team is working on that, and after that, testing it onto the international standard, and then taking it out. So once we'll start the export, we were capable, we have the capabilities, we'll send it for test and take the certification.
Hi, my name is Vinod. I'm from the government of Tamil Nadu. So as we know, we are emerging as a semiconductor economy right now. So we are actually coming up with new policies, and we are trying to encourage companies to come and set up their plants in the state. Just to touch upon the exports, I would like to understand what is the kind of specific target companies, right? Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry. So what I would like to understand is that there are various value chain in the semiconductor industry, right? So in case if we have to target any specific value chain for exports, because Tamil Nadu geographically is blessed with good amount of coastal line. So is there any particular specific sector in the semiconductor that we can target so that we can encourage the exports?
I can chime in.
Okay, so maybe I'll just try to respond to that. See, I think we are already moving in the direction where first is, so semiconductor supply chain, value chain, I would say is very vast, right from design, trying to get the input materials to having a wafer fabrication unit, and finally having a assembly and test backend, or I would say sometimes if it's yours, it's a OEM base, but if you outsource it, it's outsourced semiconductor assembly and test. So I think we can start with OSAT, right? Outsourced assembly and test, basically an assembly and test facility. It will trigger, because it's also little bit, it is also a little bit skill intensive. So you will have enough jobs in the ecosystem where you put up the plant. Whereas, wafer fabs are very large, but they are like data center, they are like fully automated. So you're going to create a lot of employment, know-hows, and the sub-ecosystem of, equipment vendors, field service engineers, and just to touch upon even on the earlier request, test labs. So the know-hows will kick in. What are the standards we need for semiconductors, and UL, CE, IITF, ISO, whatever. So, certain things are, very simple things are missed out. When I was setting up the plant in Ahmedabad for Micron, so we used to send our clean room gowns back to Bangalore for laundry. And it used to take 2 days by truck to go down and come back. So these little things can be forgotten, right? So be it a test lab, be it some indirect materials you would need to support that semiconductor facility. So that can be thought through, and then you can see how you can support these small scale ecosystem partners as well. Yeah, thank you. Varun, you can add.
Yeah, so I think your question was also around what semiconductor product. Yeah, what device or what market. Okay, so the base is zero, right? Nothing is being made. So from that point of view, the sky is the limit. Depending upon, so I think you'll have to start with just not putting up a facility, but trying to understand what domain one should go into. So, for example, and let's say a product company is here, cameras, it's a huge market. So look at some of the key components in the surveillance, security, camera ecosystem, pick up those. You can pick up the automotive industry, so look at some power devices maybe. You can look at power ICs. So it depends on the entity that's wanting to come into certain areas. So let's say maybe mobile phone, and you pick up some key components there. Like we picked up memory. So you'll have to choose certain areas and see which one has a market within India, overseas, because semiconductor is already present, right? So we are only trying to import substitute, or we're trying to substitute. So I think that's how I would like to approach it. Right? Rajuji, the screen is saying time's up, but last question is yours.
This can also be a thank you for the day, actually. So I just wanted to ask, there are 2-3 things which the government is doing, because the one thing that I always find with, all the industries in India, and that especially for exports, is that, the ease of doing business is a very big challenge. And this is a very generic statement because it covers all aspects of business. But the government has been talking a lot about, the Gati Shakti mission and the, this multimodal transport and all that. So how far has that gone? Is it really benefiting the industry? Do you all feel that it's going to help you? Secondly, the testing thing was discussed. I find that a lot of our, members and particularly MSMEs are not able to get their products tested to international standards. I mean, for example, it's a routine matter that, our members are saying that, this UL test, we have to pay, so many lakhs of rupees and it has to be done every year. And there is a separate test for each product. So it becomes like a real challenge. So, I mean, are these things which have a solution, or are you seeing something happening? That was only my thought. I mean, so while this was. So please, any one of you can answer in the interest of time. And you can toss a coin and decide whatever you like to do.
On certification, I can say that yes, they are doing that has to be done at their lab or their certified lab. They are charging exorbitant monies. But it again comes on to the need base. Once you are established, then you can put up your this thing that, okay, it is not 1 year. If it is qualified, it is qualified unless until the product is not changing. As we do the type test in India for railways, for other government agencies, we do the type test for a particular product till the time the product is there, that certification is there. So we'll have to wait and watch, because we are just getting on to that level. And once we reach to that level, and as fast as possible, then I think these challenges would be mitigated.
So there are some certifications which are across product categories. Like for example, just ROHS, REACH, SPHC substances, pH, these are across industries, across product. Now that test does not happen in India. And there are very few agencies who are doing it and they get it done outside. So that's where the country has to come in. When we are pumping in billions of dollars, pump in specifically of opening up a test center which is fully equipped in every state. I would say every state should have it, because every state is developing. So that is the need of the hour. And in logistics terms, there's tons of road network development. A lot of new airports are coming up, so that's good. But I think the rail network has to also be improved a little bit, and timing is a problem. So, let's say a project comes up, the timing is 5 years. It overshoots and becomes 9 years, 10 years. So we are, for example, one of our facilities is very close to the DMIC, the Delhi Mumbai Industrial Corridor. But several timelines have passed. So I think we have to all take a cognizant approach towards ensuring that we, work towards those timelines. And that is very important.
No, I think testing has come out as a critical topic. So maybe that's one of the things that we should go back to both guidance and MeitY to help, right? So it will definitely help.
Maybe I'll just want to add one point on your first part of the question on ease of doing business. So I think there is a lot of improvement. We have this ECMS getting approved in record time, single window clearance, but there is still a lot of compliance. So put it simple way, cost of compliance is on the higher side. A lot of manual work. You work with the central, you work with the state, then you work with the panchayats, because some of us are not in cities, we're not in metro cities. We need to be placed a little bit far outside from the city. So there's another panchayati there. So a lot of paperwork. So cost of compliance is still high. And lastly, on the logistics, I think Varun told, but I can just give you a fact. We are spending as a country 14% on the GDP on just logistics cost. That's very expensive. Logistics is expensive. So for export to succeed, we need to fix this. So a lot of the other countries that we are talking about, they are in mid single digit. 5 to 6% is the logistics cost. So that is one area that we can improve. So yeah, ease of doing business still needs a lot of work. So we can continue to do it, but I think very good improvements so far. We're on the right track. Thank you.
Just one last point, which across I think the panel maybe did not really come out, but finance cost is a huge problem for India. So the interest rates are extremely high, 8 to 11%, depending upon the industry that you are in and the relationship you have with the bank. And when you're doing exports, obviously the challenge is giving credit. The challenge is, the credit period. Now, I've seen over the years, China, Taiwan have developed a beautiful system, right? I think we all know this Sinosure system. In India, the Exim banks charge you such a high premium amount that invariably, at least we as a company decide, forget it. So we take the risk. But we shouldn't have that risk. So if we really want to become an export nation, rather than the MSMEs and even large companies taking that risk, the government should step in and support us on that risk part. One, from an insurance standpoint, and second is just the interest cost is so high. So other countries, are anywhere between 1.5 to 4.5%. So that cost differential hits us quite a bit, and it's been spoken about millions of times, but it did not come out. So that's another a factor which hits us when we are looking at exports.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a huge round of applause, everybody together, for our moderator, Mr. Sudhir Narayan, partner Bain & Company, for handling the session seamlessly. And let's give a huge round of applause for all our panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, may I now request Mr. Richard Putota, Senior VP Elsina and Senior Director McDermott Alpha, to please join us on the stage to hand over the memento. Thank you once again for your valuable time and for some great insights on unlocking new export market initiatives once again. Let's hear it for our moderator once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the very end of the event. Thank you once again for being a part of 15th edition Source India powered by Elsina. Thank you to our global partners, industry experts, innovators, exhibitors, valued delegates, and to every stakeholders. Yes, this is only day one. Come with the same hunger for knowledge, come with the same energy, come with the same enthusiasm tomorrow. And we have some interesting panel discussion that's going to be happening right here on the stage. Once again, see you all tomorrow at 15th edition Source India powered by Elsina on day 2.